Okay, so I want to ask you something. Have you ever been cruising down Route 60 in Vernon Hills, past Hawthorn Mall, past the strip of chain restaurants, past every fast food franchise known to humanity, and suddenly, right there next to the Mobil gas station, you see this big old beat up concrete silo just standing there like it wandered in from another century? And I guess nobody decided it should ever go. If you've ever driven down that stretch of Town Line Road, you've seen it. And if you're anything like me, your first thought was probably, what is that? Why is it still here? That silo is actually one of the most fascinating little puzzles in Lake County. It's not particularly pretty, it's not particularly large, and yet it has survived decades of developers, demolition orders, shopping center expansions, Dominick's supermarkets, Walgreens proposals, a potential homeless occupant, and what sounds like a genuinely chaotic sequence of tear it down, actually wait, no, tear it down, no, we changed our minds again, decisions by the village board. It's still standing right there. It has outlasted all of them. And the story behind that silo is really the story of Vernon Hills itself, a place that grew so fast from nothing to mall heaven in about 40 years that it almost completely erased every trace of what it used to be. So let's talk about it. First, let's put Vernon Hills in context because a lot of people don't realize just how recent this village actually is. The land that would become Vernon Hills began with the establishment of a 200-acre farm in 1857. For a century after that, it was essentially agriculture. Farms, nurseries, open land. The community remained agricultural until the 1950s when developers Quinn Hogan and Barney Loeb bought the land from nurseryman Gordon Clavey to build homes and a golf course. On June 16, 1958, the village officially incorporated with 123 residents and 125 houses in a single subdivision. 123 residents, that's it. That's not a village, that's a large Thanksgiving dinner. Today, Vernon Hills has nearly 27,000 people. That transformation from farmland to suburb in just under 70 years is one of the most dramatic demographic compressions in Lake County history, and it happened so fast that almost nothing from the before times survived. The village manager himself once said, "There is not much that is old in this town, even the trees. All the trees were cut down by farmers 50 or 60 years ago." Not even the trees. Think about it. Vernon Hills is a place that was essentially flattened, developed, and retrofitted so quickly that even the natural landscape got replaced. Malls, office parks, chain restaurants are now where cornfields used to be. It happened that fast, which is exactly why that silo is so striking when you see it. It's not just old, it's one of the only old things left. Now, who does that silo belong to and where did it come from? Well, the silo stands on land that was owned by the Clavey family, the same family that Vernon Hills was essentially built on. Gordon Clavey, whose family operated farms and nurseries in Lake County starting in the late 1800s, had owned some 317 acres in the area. Clavey Road is named for his grandfather, Fred. Vernon Hills was founded on land that developers bought from Gordon Clavey around 1955. So the man whose family owned most of what became Vernon Hills also owned the land with the silo on it. The silo was part of Cold Springs Farm. Gordon Clavey himself recalled, "There were barns there, and then there was a big fire and everything came down but the silo. It stayed because it was tremendously well built. Everything else burned. The silo stood." That's the kind of its whole deal, actually. Everything around it disappears, and the silo is still standing. Expert estimated dates to around 1908, which would make it well over 100 years old. It's about 15 feet in diameter and about 40 feet tall, made of concrete block, weathered gray, and sitting next to a Mobil gas station on one of the busiest commercial corridors in Lake County. It is absolutely not supposed to look the way it looks, and yet, there it is. Now let me tell you about the absolutely chaotic saga of what's happened to the silo since the 1990s because it's genuinely unbelievable. Around 1991, it appeared that a homeless person was living in it. The village board ordered the owner to tear it down. Then they reconsidered and thought it might be nice to save it, so they ordered him not to tear it down. Hamilton Partners, the development company that owns the parcel, was actually poised with machinery on site to demolish the silo when it was reprieved at the last minute. Machinery was on site, ready to go, and it was stopped. People like the silo. They stop and take pictures of it. That's a quote from Tony Alciulitti, the owner of the Mobil gas station next door. And you know what? He's right. I've seen people stop and photograph it. There's something about it that makes people pause, even people who can't explain why. Then in 1997, it looked like the silo's luck had finally run out. the development company was ready to move forward on a multi-million-dollar retail development on the 26-acre site. The silo wasn't technically in the way of development, but the project's future was uncertain. The Village Historical Society president, Kathleen Hook, made her case for it. She said the silo is a symbol of the roots of our town. The village came up from farm fields. Everything was farms. And she's absolutely right. The silo isn't just an old building. It's the only physical proof, standing right there on Route 60, that all of this, every bit of it, used to be a working agricultural landscape. The mall parking lot, cornfields. The auto shop and the chain hotels and the big box stores, all of it, within living memory, was open country. But here's where the saga gets almost comedic. In 1998, the village looked at relocating the silo when plans advanced to build senior housing on the site. A study determined it would cost about $2,000 to move it, but the senior housing fell through. $2,000. That could have saved it for $2,000. And the project it was being moved for didn't even happen. That is peak Lake County bureaucracy, honestly. Totally fetch planning. Then, in 2002, the silo got another reprieve when Dominick's grocery backed out of a development proposed for the site. So, demolition crews show up, reprieved. Senior housing plan falls through. Dominick's deal collapses. Every single threat to the silo has somehow evaporated. Meanwhile, the Mobil station next door keeps operating. The traffic on Route 60 keeps moving. The Hawthorn Mall keeps getting redeveloped, most recently with a full transformation after the demolition of the former Sears and Carson's anchors starting in 2021, with new restaurants and tenants moving in through 2024 and 2025. Everything around the silo keeps getting torn down and rebuilt, but the silo remains. What does it mean? Well, here's my take. The Vernon Hills silo matters precisely because it's not impressive. If it were a grand farmhouse or a covered bridge in a historic downtown area or some architecturally significant building, preserving it would be an easy call. But it's a squat, gray, concrete cylinder sitting next to a gas station. The village manager himself said without apparent embarrassment, "Personally, I don't think it is that picturesque. If it was a little nicer looking, I'd say leave it there. But who wants an eyesore just because it's been there for a long time?" I'm pretty sure that's his quote, or it's from my wife. And that attitude, that's exactly the attitude that erased everything else. That's how you lose 100 years of history. Not through malice, just through practicality. It's not that pretty. What's the point? And then one day you look around and there's nothing left, not even the trees. And the only evidence that human beings farmed this land for a century is a battered silo next to a gas station that people occasionally stop to photograph without knowing why. The why is this: we are wired to feel the weight of continuity. We want to know that the place we live has a story that goes back further than the last strip mall renovation. And when almost every physical trace of that story is gone, the things that remain, even the unglamorous, weathered, technically an eyesore things, become oddly precious to us. The Lake County Farm Bureau manager was dismissive, saying, "There's nothing historic about an old silo." And in a strict architectural or academic sense, I think he's probably right. But that completely misses the point. The value of that silo isn't in what it is. It's in what it represents. The moments before, frozen in concrete, right there on the busiest road in the village, daring you to notice it. Vernon Hills is a place that went from 123 residents in a single subdivision to nearly 27,000 people and a 1.2 million square foot mall in under 70 years. That's extraordinary. And almost nothing from before that transformation survived. Almost. The next time you drive past that silo on Route 60, give it a nod. It's been standing there since 1908. It survived a farm fire, a demolition order, a homeless occupant, 2 separate development plans, a Dominick's that bailed, a Walgreens that never happened. It has outlasted every threat with zero effort by simply being tremendously well built. That's not an eyesore, that's a survivor. And it might be the only surviving piece of Vernon Hills history. I'll see you next time.
Disney World, the most magical place on Earth and one of the most expensive.
The tickets are just too expensive this year.
We really want to take the kids, though.
Tickets, hotels, dining, the costs add up fast. But what if you could experience all the magic without the financial stress? Introducing Just the Essential Disney Hacks, the insider guide packed with proven tips to slash ticket costs, score the best hotel deals, beat the crowds, and dine like royalty on a budget. From your very first booking to your last ride of the day, every hack, every shortcut you need to make your Disney dream a reality. Available now on Amazon in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook. Your magical vacation starts here.